Welcome to this edition of the Evening Review. My name is Job Amupanda. Joining us in studio is the ever-colorful Olsen Kahiriri, who will reflect on the recent elections of the Windhoek City Council. Before we go into that interview, we'll go for a short break. Welcome back to the Evening Review. Thanks for joining us again.
Thanks for having me.
Yesterday we saw nominations and elections take place of office bearers on the City of Windhoek Council. But if one were to reflect on the past 12 months that the current council has had, what would you rate as, if you were to give them a score, if you were to rate them, if you were to list successes, if you were to list failures, what would those be?
Yeah, first of all, one should look at the political dynamics that the councillors find themselves in the city. You must understand that the city is the biggest metropolitan in the whole country, which has a diverse cultural and tribal residents. So looking at how the leadership was structured after the elections, which have given birth to the current councillors, all of them in total that we have, has brought us to a new political dimension, to say the least, because for the first time in the history of this country ever since independence, you would see that the ruling party was pushed to be bystanders and spectators of the real administration or leadership of the city. Now, what political parties at the end of, before entering the elections, they did not anticipate that once they would find themselves at the forefront of leading the city, because the results of their hard work came out and displayed that they are now bound to push the Swapo party out, and then they among themselves should find ways to lead. And that was a very difficult scenario, because shortly after the results came out, I think it was a week or a week and a half, thereafter the council portfolios should stand and all these things. And taking political parties being NUDO, AR, IPC, LPM, PDM, 5 of them, bringing them or trying to bring them in one pot, it's a very difficult scenario, because we have different characters. Every political party has its own character, its own beliefs, and its leaders also have their own understanding of how things should be done. So bringing them under one roof, it was very difficult, because you must now understand that these people did not preempt what had happened. It was something that people were speaking in corridors, but coalition for the first time at the City of Windhoek was a big challenge. Now, that being done, you would understand that LPM did not come to the party. The other 4 parties came to the party, and in their engagements, they structure themselves portfolios and how they are going to govern the city.
So-called progressive forces.
Calling themselves a progressive force. which at the end of the day ends up to become a regressive force. We could see that it collapsed at the end of its 12 months. So it was a challenge. So rating the council, I think one should also give credit to the current leadership. It's not about those who were having the portfolios. It was about the behavior of the council itself. You would see that decisions that are taken mostly are, we know that the former mayor would probably become the publicity of the city, bypassing the spokesperson of the city, by giving out the information of what transpired. But from all those work that he was publicizing was the work of all the councillors in total. Because one would appreciate that the current political structure we have in the council could go very far if you find the right leader. And the right leader is being the right mayor. Because if you have the right mayor, that gives room for others. You must understand all these councillors are leaders. They are coming from different constituencies. They are leaders. And if you are on top of them, you also don't have to bully them. You will have to have their views heard. So on that basis, you would be a successful leader, taking it very far. But I think with the current previous setup, they allowed the previous mayor to take the center stage. But the whole credit goes to the whole council, because they pushed for all these good stuff that was said in social media. And roughly I will rate them 6 to 10. Given
6 out of 10.
6 out of 10, given the scenario of the previous administration, because the previous administration was linked to a lot of equivocal administration, whereby corruption issues, land being distributed to certain cliques and all these things. But I think that buck has stopped with the current councillors. And I don't say councillors specifically from a certain political party, but being the councillors, the 15 councillors in the chamber. And I think we should be fortunate currently as a Windhoek resident to have this bunch of leadership. Because from what I saw even yesterday, when they realized that, some of them realized that they have been beaten from the lobbying game, because politics is about lobbying and all these things. But their behavior yesterday showed that whoever comes forward, probably they would work with him. But I could see a little side of the shoe from the AR side and PDM, that the anger that they portrayed yesterday, that they were not happy with moving out of the leadership structures. But a leader without a title is the most dangerous leader. And that, in my aspect, should most of the councillors play. If you are a leader without a title and you are in the council, your contribution, because the public is watching, what your contribution, because it's not about who is the first person to have brought the motion. Is the motion going to help the residents? It's not about a beauty contest and who has the great ideas. And I was very disappointed by the outgoing mayor belittling the councillors, being incompetent, publicly attacking the City of Windhoek employees being corrupt. Sometimes it's unethical if you are the mayor or outgoing mayor and you have not seen tangible supporting documentation to that effect, and just blast people on that aspect. So I think from the rating, I would rate them at 6 to 10, and it can go it can go very high, given the prospect that we probably have women leadership in the council for the first time in the history of the country. That you would see that the mayor, chairperson of the management committee, the acting CEO, the governor, all these are women.
Oh, no. Now we had the establishment of the progressive forces, where we saw the principles of the four parties come together and sort of now establish this thing formally. But towards the end, we saw recently we saw recalling of IPC councillors. You would see the NUDO MP calling the IPC head a dictator. You would see the AR principal making all sorts of comments. Just looking at those dynamics, does this bestow trust in coalition movements? I mean, and what, where to from here?
You see, coalition governments can work. Can work when the politicians that are playing the role are matured and they understand the politics. You see, it's not always that we should badmouth each other in public. If you badmouth each other in public while we are in coalition of certain grounds, on the grounds that you already have set up, I find it very funny when you portray this picture outside. Internally, when you are in your coalition meetings, what is your discussions? Are they different from what you are portraying in the public? I know politics is a game, and a game that is being played by those who have mastered it. And name calling is not one of the successful game of politics. Now, if you are not influencing the discussion internally, then you would resort to public. But your agreement is internal. So how do you graduate from that level? Because one way or the other, come 2024, coalition government, whether you want or not, is what we see. But if you are not learning from this, you know IPC and LPM have way too different policies. They differ in the approach of things. But LPM is speaking of accountable governance, financial audit of municipalities and all these things. And IPC, on the other side, is speaking of service delivery. And their leadership must be consistent in supporting or putting the residents first. Somewhere, when you are leading, you reach each other halfway in what you want to achieve. And I think from a moderate politicians like PDM, political party like PDM, I'm very shocked that they had to take anger when political miscalculations hits their doors. I was shocked that you saw the 11th hour, they wrote a letter that says that we are going to remain mute. We are not going to take any nominations. We are not going to do anything. We are just going to sit. That is kids who does that. You can't do that. In a political space, you are embarrassed.
AR as well.
It was PDM and AR. You are embarrassing yourself. You should just have remain silent and play your game. It's a game. It's a game. Politics is a game. And when you don't have the numbers, you must lobby. And lobbying is not insulting. Lobbying is engaging. And negotiations are the most important tools that you should use. And when you negotiate, you give away. You give away where you don't like the breath of the person who sits next to you. But you have to fit in somewhere there. So if you go into negotiations and you want 100%, it doesn't work like that. You will have to leverage and give out some of the things that you think others want the most, and then you can benefit out of it. Political parties must now learn that working together with others, you sometimes get on the back of another party that is bigger than you at a certain extent. But you coming in a public space and say, you have 5 votes, we don't want them. Yes, we also don't want your 1 vote. You understand? The other will also say that. So those, because sympathy, when you play politics, sometimes, you see, the good politics that you can play with the masses is when you go to national election, regional elections. But here, you are at the council. So people with brains who are councillors are sitting and listening to you, and that's where you are lobbying from. And you are crying in the public. The public won't be in the chamber to vote for you. So those are the things that you must mature with. Now, and trust me, the statements also made by the mayor, outgoing mayor,
Former.
Dr. Job Amupanda, was sometimes disturbing, because from his speech, he said, don't worry, to his staff when he was congratulating them, which is a very good thing to do. He was saying, you don't need to give me information about what the mayor is doing, but I'll find it. Is he going to be a police officer? Because if you are a council member, the battle of the mind should be at the center stage, because you have a constituency that you promise houses for. And remember, you are still a councillor, and you must deliver what you have promised people. The land that you have promised people, you are still a party to the failure or success of that council. Because the people that have elected you have put you into a chamber to take the right decision, not decisions because you hate the chairperson of the management committee. No. Take decisions on my behalf in order for me to trust you in the next election. Because why are we in elections? We are in elections to influence votes. And if you can't influence votes and you are only influencing your ego and your support, it won't work. So I would say that all councillors will be forced to work together on the way forward. And it's good times in Namibian context that powers are not concentrated on one person. Understand that the parties that took positions in council are not the majority. They are also minority. But the others are saying they are the majority, but they are a divided majority. So everybody has a portion into the decision-making of the city. And sometimes I tend to question people what their motives are to take public positions, because some councillors are saying, we are going to deal with them. Are you going to push agendas that are going to transform the city, or are you just going to target other councillors not to succeed?
Commissar, before I go into the next round of questioning, because I've got 2 more questions, I would quickly like to call for a commercial break. Please do stay tuned. We'll be back shortly.
I'm gonna cross that river, Jordan. Yes, I am. I'm gonna leave my heart wide open. Yes, I am. Let me tell you, baby, yes, I am. Yes, I am. Oh, baby, yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yeah, baby, yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Yesterday, as before the nomination of the management committee chairperson, the mayor, and so forth, as he was giving his speech, and the former mayor was supposed to present a mayoral report, but now he said yesterday that there was no plan to implement. So what is he reporting? What do you make of that assessment?
That clearly is a sign that he did not do anything.
But you
Because-
just rated the council collectively as a 6.
Yeah, because the council did something, but he decided not to report. And for me, it's wrong, because he is showing or portraying a picture to the public that I did not do anything this year as a mayor. The whole team did nothing this year. Because people must understand that these are public positions. When you are about to be given a platform to report, you are the one that goes to the public and question others to report. You don't want to give a report. The report is not beneficial to you. It's beneficial to those who have elected you, because councillors are accountable to the residents. The residents wanted to hear, what have you done in your time frame? We want to rate you. What are the achievements? Because you are representing the total council. And I think the whole council should have been disappointed if the mayor is not giving the report. And a report is a goodbye. Because you are preparing the next mayor who's coming, that this is what the office of the mayor has done. This is what is left on the table, and these are the challenges. And you are actually giving this person or bringing this person into an office and say, these are my files, take them. These are the problems, these are the shortcomings. And unfortunately, it's not for me to judge, but it's the actions. People have been judged by their own actions. The former mayor failed the residents of Namibia, of Windhoek, for not reporting. For me, that is a miscalculation. He should have given a report, even for 5 hours, as long or 1 hour or 30 minutes, at least to touch on the basis of the achievements that the council has done collectively and all these things.
Then lastly, towards the end of the reign of the so-called progressive forces, just prior or just before this process to elect a new mayor started off, we saw this statements being released jointly by PDM and AR that they were not going to be party, that they were going to sit out this whole process. Do you think, in a way, this has thrown the IPC off balance? And what does this now make of? What does this now make of Swapo? Because they still have 5 seats, they still have the most seats on the council, even if they do not have an outright majority. So, how do you see things playing out? Has IPC been caught off guard? And how is this going to affect, for example, now the appointment of a CEO, the adoption of the council's resolutions, and service delivery in general to the general residents of Windhoek?
I think, to be honest, Swapo has hired a right scientist, political scientist who's assisting them. From ever since they entered the chamber, they were too relaxed to stand up for portfolios and things like that. Because you must understand, this is a 5-year term of politics. And you being quiet for 2 years, not challenging portfolios. You have the 5 seats. You only need 3. IPC, you have 4, has managed to work with the opposition to lead. You understand? So this is not new. You find it's sometimes you would say it's difficult for you to work with Swapo in Windhoek because it's the biggest city in the whole country or what. But Swapo is working with other opposition parties in other towns. People don't have a problem with that. So these are things that can be done. But the problem is sometimes the opposition can work together, but the way the law is structured is when you table things, sometimes it must also go to the line minister to put the hammer on a nail, on the nail, because that is where the most final decision should come from. And when you have the municipality in charge of the municipality, but you don't have the blessing of the line minister, it's also a big challenge. So, and I think Swapo is also playing that card because they know that they have the powers to instruct the minister not to approve certain things, and that being discussed at the table. But I think Swapo is busy playing a recovery politics. And you might see them probably coming back on the 4th to the 5th year, robustly, because they have potential to get the 3 votes and take over the city. But from parties like LPM, AR, if you have been given an opportunity to lead now, this is your opportunity to shine or to fail. Some were given an opportunity, they did not impress. But if you are given an opportunity, this is where you portray to the general public that I'm not just singing, I'm of the service delivery. Because when things get tough and the sleeping party that is also having majority into the council start to wake up, the smaller parties will not have the bigger chance to lead. But whoever also wants to take over the city, unfortunately, have to work with the smaller parties. But if you have been given an opportunity to lead, show leadership style. Even though the people you disagree with them politically, it's about service delivery. It is about results. It is about doing the right thing. And I believe, even though your political party speaks of these things, of different things that you must not work with who, you must not have coffee with who, that has nothing to do with your work as a councillor, because you have taken an oath to protect and deliver service on behalf of the residents of Windhoek. So I think we must be very thankful as Windhoek residents that we did not give too much power to anyone, because we have not given too much power to anyone, so we can see these people trying to find common grounds, even though they don't have it, to find ways to lead us or to solve the problems that we have in the city. And I think that to the residents is good, and the residents must keep the votes in those quotas that they have given. For a long time, we'll have a better city.
Thank you very much for joining us on the Evening Review.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning into the Evening Review. On that note, good night.